Harrison with you, and if you live in a chaotic world, a world full of stress, where you have job situations, you have romances, you have things that simply are, shall we say, unnavigable. Your life has become unmanageable. You don't know which way to turn, but you know you're smart, you know you're talented, people like you, but it just seems sometimes like a dead end. And let's face it, in the modern world we live in, how can anybody not feel like they're Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the hill for it to roll down once again? Hyrum W. Smith, he is the founder of Three Gaps, and Richard Godfrey, also the co-founder. Gentlemen, welcome you so much, and thank you for bringing this to the general public.
Well, thank you, Kerry. Really appreciate this opportunity.
So let's just jump right into it. You guys come from a huge company with decades worth of success. Tell us a little bit about that so that we get who you guys really are.
Okay, well, why don't I do that, Kerry? We started the Franklin Planner Company in my basement in 1983. And, we had this idea. We thought we could teach people to get better control of their lives. And so we started teaching a seminar. And the central theme of the seminar we originally taught and did for years was the maintenance and acquisition of inner peace. We decided that that's what people wanted. We couldn't spell research. We couldn't afford research. So we told people that what they wanted was inner peace, and the way to do it was to get better control of their lives. And we did it, our Trojan horse was time management, and then we got in and actually helped them better manage their lives.
And you'll note right next to these two gentlemen, there is a book cover called Three Gaps. And Richard, why don't you talk a little bit about this book? This is a brand new breakthrough for how we look at the world, right?
Exactly. Just like Hyrum said, this is a condensation of 40 years of Hyrum's work. I've been working with Hyrum for about 3 decades. And it identifies 3 gaps that every individual, every family, every couple, every partnership, every organization has to some degree that are interfering with their ability to achieve what we call inner peace. We describe inner peace as serenity, balance, and harmony in life. So these 3 gaps, which are specifically the gap between your values, your beliefs, and your goals, are creating this feeling that life is overwhelming. The Sisyphus example that you gave, that you're just struggling to get that boulder up the hill and it rolls back.
The first gap we call the belief gap.
Yeah.
And the question here is there a gap between what I believe to be true and what is actually true? And if there is a gap, I'm in pain. For example, you may believe that gravity doesn't work. Well, you're going to be in trouble, Kerry, because gravity works. And
well,
so,
I have to say I'm a fan of Newton. You see this?
Okay.
It's real.
All right. Well, and so that and in an organization, if the belief system isn't lined up with reality, the company's in trouble, the family's in trouble, the individual. The second gap we call the time gap or the productivity gap. And the question here is there a gap between what I did today and what I said I was going to do today? And if there's a gap between my plan and what I'm doing, I've got a problem. That goes all the way up through the organization. The final gap is the one that really gets under people's skin, and we call it the value gap. And the question here is there a gap between what I'm doing and what I really value? For example, if I value being physically fit and I weigh 300 pounds, there's a gap. And there's pain. And if I want inner peace on that value, what have I got to do? I've got to close the gap. I've got to cut down to 3 meals a day, no more French fries, beer, stuff. If I value being financially okay, and I'm in $500,000 in debt, I'm in pain. If I want peace, what have I got to do? I've got to close the gap. And so it's all about, we've created and we've discovered over the years, and now discovered a very quick, powerful way of teaching a simple blueprint on how to close those 3 gaps. And it's really a lot of fun.
Hyrum, you're talking about the magic word that a lot of us squirm when we hear it, but it's accountability. And it's not a mean thing. It's just that if I have to do as I say and say as I do, otherwise, my dream simply can't happen, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And accountability can be a frightening thing. But the fact is, when we talk about gaps, the fact is everyone already has the gaps. All we're doing is helping them put light on the gaps. And as you know, light is a great disinfectant, probably the best disinfectant. And all of a sudden, I find out what matters to me. I realize my belief system isn't in line with reality. And we've discovered a simple model on how to bring my belief system in line with the truth. And boy, when that happens, miracles start to happen. When I start to bring what I do in line with what I value most, suddenly my personal life's better, my family life, I'm better at work, I'm better in my community. Things get better. And you know, we talk about this chaos. We live in white water. You know, when you're in white water in the Grand Canyon, what you want most is the absence of white water. And what we've done is we've discovered this wonderful, simple blueprint of how to close the gaps and get out of the chaos.
Let's, Richard, for a second talk about millennials. Here we have millions of kids with $80,000 college debt, and the world is spinning, and they don't trust their government. They don't really trust anything. Advertising, all of this stuff is whirling around. And you guys are really among the first to take all of this human history, philosophy, Aristotle, what makes people tick, and condense it into a way that actually speaks to them and gives them the tools they need to survive, right?
Exactly. I mean, one of the realities of being part of any generation, we're obviously part of the boomer generation, is that there's two competing sort of beliefs. One is our generation is so different than any that preceded it that what worked for them can't work for us. And then the competing belief is simply this. Well, it's actually a reality, and that is, as different as we are, we're very much the same. I heard an interview on NPR the other day. They were talking about how fundamentally conservative, not so much politically, but just in their approach to their finances, whether they purchase a home, etc., millennials are. So in fact, they're finding that the world, as different as it is, because there's no question that things change, there's still principles that never change that affect them as much as us. And, you know, Hyrum started Franklin literally decades ago, and this is our attempt to bring those ideas into the 21st century and introduce them to millennials who, to be honest, as you pointed out, Carrie, may have known a parent or a teacher or a leader who had a Franklin planner, but have no connection to it themselves because, of course, it's paper-based rather than electronic. So this is their chance to hear a very sort of foundational message based in principles that never change.
They together have not only put together this great book, but they're also going to be introducing seminars where regular folks can show up and get the keys to the kingdom, if you will, and be able to navigate those shoals of insanity that we all seem to be stuck on, that our ships are crashing against. Well, now you're going to get that map, that chart, that GPS you've always wanted. Hang on, more to come. Harrison with you, and we're talking about how to get ahead in life. And we're talking with two of the seminal guys that are available right now on Earth. Now, you've heard of self-help seminars, you've read lots of books on your own, you've met people who claim they have the answer. But there are also people who have decades and decades of real history and real success. And often they're found in the corporate world, not available to regular people. Well, these guys have stepped forward, and they've been around a long time. They've written an incredible book, and they're going to make this information, the stuff that makes CEOs superstars, make it available for regular people right away.
One of the things I try and make a point of every time I have the opportunity of speaking is to make the point that the basic principles that help you and me become better, more productive, you and me, haven't changed for 6,000 years. Now, what has changed, our environment has changed. You know, the tools with which we implement these principles are changing at warp speed. But the basic principles that help a human being bring peace, get better, more productive, better to be around, those principles haven't changed for a long time. Why? Because we're people. Human beings haven't changed.
You also have a ton of celebrity clients who have benefited from this. I mean, a lot of well-known names, and I know you preserve their anonymity, so it's a safe place when you are in Los Angeles or New York or somewhere. But your success model, and Richard, you were just going to comment on it, it goes for everybody in the world, doesn't it?
Exactly. I mean, we've all heard the statement, getting to the far side of complexity. Well, that presumes then that you started on the near side of complexity and you had to get through it. And it's just how life works, right? We have to work and think and experience our way through things to get to that far side where we realize these simple principles Hyrum discussed are really as applicable to me as they are to anybody. We're all far more similar, I found, than we are different, regardless of our generation, our gender, our race, our culture. And that's why this is so resonant. And as you said, it has legs. It will last because it's about, as Hyrum said, being a human being, specifically being the best human being you can be.
Well, gentlemen, I'm grateful that you're presenting this for all the rest of us. I know a lot of this uniquely was for the power brokers in the world, and now it's for all of us. If your name is Mildred, or you're a Jay, a Jennifer, a Jason, a Jared, a Justin, a millennial, this is exactly what people want. They want that leg up. They want to know somebody has their back in all of this madness. And you've got a book out that describes it. We're going to see more from you soon as we're going to break down each of these gaps individually so that we can understand how they work better. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again shortly.
Kerry, thank you. It's an honor to be on your program.
Thanks so much, Kerry.